Far away from the busy parts of the galaxy, there was a place no one cared about anymore. It was called Arabus 9. Long ago, it had a different name, a human name, but that name was forgotten after the war. Now in every star map it was marked with a simple label: dead planet, no life, no signals, no value, just silence. For almost 1,000 years nothing had changed there. A small alien patrol ship moved slowly through the dark space near Arabus 9. It was not a powerful ship. It was not meant for war. Its job was simple: scan empty systems and move on. Inside the ship, the crew looked bored. Commander Virel stood near the main screen, watching the planet from a distance. It was just a gray sphere covered in dust and cracks. No oceans, no lights, no movement. Another dead world, one of the crew members said quietly. Virel nodded. "Scan it anyway, protocol." The scanner operator sighed but followed the order. His fingers moved across the panel, sending signals toward the planet. For a few seconds everything was normal. Then, the screen flickered. The operator frowned. "That's strange." "What is it?" Virel asked. "I'm getting energy readings." The room went quiet. "Energy?" Virel repeated. "That's not possible." Arabus 9 had no power sources, no active systems, nothing that could produce energy. "Check again," Virel said, his voice more serious now. The operator ran the scan a second time. This time, the result was even clearer. "There are multiple energy signatures," he said slowly. Deep under the surface, another crew member leaned forward. "Maybe volcanic activity?" The operator shook his head. "No, this is not natural. The patterns are organized." That word made everyone uneasy. Organized. That meant one thing. Technology Commander Virel stepped closer to the screen. "Zoom in." The image of Arabus 9 grew larger. The surface looked lifeless as always. Cracked ground. Endless dust. Nothing moving. But then, a faint glow appeared. Very small at first, like a light turning on beneath the ground. "Focus on that area," Virel said. The system zoomed further. The glow became brighter. Then another one appeared, and another. Soon, dozens of glowing points spread across the planet's surface, all shining from below. The crew stared in silence. "What are we looking at?" Someone whispered. No one answered. Suddenly, the ground moved. At first it was slow, almost invisible, but then the cracks on the planet began to widen. Dust rose into the air. Large sections of the surface started to shift, as if something massive was pushing from below. The operator's voice shook. "Something is coming up." Commander Virel felt a cold tension in his chest. Record everything. The ship's systems began capturing the moment. On the screen, the planet was no longer still. It was waking up. With a deep, silent force, the surface of Arabus 9 broke apart. Huge plates of rock lifted into the air, and from beneath them, metal appeared. Dark, massive, ancient. Structures began to rise from the ground. Giant shapes, too large to be buildings, too smooth to be natural. They were machines. No, they were ships. The first one broke free from the planet's surface. It was enormous, larger than anything the patrol crew had ever seen. Its body was covered in dust and scars, like it had been sleeping for centuries. But now, lines of light ran across its surface, glowing brighter every second. Then, its engines ignited. A sudden burst of blue fire exploded downward, pushing dust and debris across the planet. The ship began to rise, slowly at first, then faster. The crew on the patrol ship froze in shock. "That's a warship," one of them said. "No," Virel whispered. "That's not just a warship." He looked closer. "There are more, all across Arabus 9. The same thing was happening. The ground was opening. More ships were rising, dozens, then hundreds, each one massive, each one ancient, each one coming back to life. The sky above the planet filled with fire and smoke as engines ignited one after another. It looked like the planet itself was burning. "Commander," the operator said, barely able to speak, "I'm detecting thousands of signatures now." "Thousands?" Someone repeated in disbelief. "Yes," the operator said. "This entire planet. It's full of them." The truth hit the room like a shockwave. Arabus 9 was not a dead planet. It was something else, something hidden, something waiting. One of the crew members quickly searched the old records. There is something here, he said. Before the war, this was a human colony. Burrell's eyes narrowed. Humans? They abandoned it. Or it was destroyed. Records are unclear. Another pause. Then Burrell spoke quietly. Humans don't build fleets like this. On the screen, the ships continued to rise. They moved with perfect order. No collisions. No confusion. It was like they were following a plan, a very old plan. Suddenly, one of the ships turned. Its massive body rotated in space, and for a brief moment, it faced the patrol ship. The crew felt it instantly, even without weapons firing. Even without a signal. It felt like they had been seen. Commander, the operator said.
We are being scanned. Virel didn't hesitate. Prepare to leave now. But sir, we should now.
As the patrol ship turned to escape, the sky behind them filled with rising warships. Thousands of engines burned at once. The light was blinding. The silence of 1,000 years had ended in a single moment. Before jumping to faster-than-light travel, Virel sent one message, a simple transmission, short, urgent, unbelievable. To all systems, the dead planet Arabus 9 is active. Repeat, it is active. It is launching a fleet. He paused for 1 second, then added, This is not a natural event. This is a military force. The message was sent. The patrol ship vanished into space. Behind them, Arabus 9 continued to open. More ships rose, more engines ignited. The planet did not look dead anymore. It looked alive, but not with life, with power, with purpose, and far above the planet. The growing fleet began to move, not randomly, not slowly, but together in one direction, as if they had been waiting. For this exact moment, the sleeping Armada had awakened. The message spread faster than anyone expected. Across the galaxy, signals jumped from system to system. Stations received it. Warships received it. Empires received it. At first, many ignored it. Then they watched the recording, and everything changed. In the central regions of the galaxy, inside a massive command chamber, leaders of a powerful alien empire gathered around a large holographic screen. The footage of Arabus 9 played in silence. The cracked planet, the rising structures, the ships. So many ships. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, one of the high commanders broke the silence. This must be a mistake. Another shook his head. It is not a mistake. The data is confirmed from multiple sources. A third leader leaned forward. Zoom in. The image focused on one of the massive warships. Its surface was dark, worn but covered in glowing lines. Strange symbols could be seen along its hull. Unknown design, one scientist said. Not from any current empire. Then who built them? Someone asked. No one answered immediately. But deep inside, many already knew the answer they did not want to say. In another part of the galaxy, a trading station stopped all activity. Ships that were docking paused mid-flight. Merchants gathered around public screens. The same footage played again and again. A voice whispered through the crowd. That's a human world? Another voice replied, Humans are gone. Are they? No one had a clear answer. For centuries, humans were seen as weak. They had once spread across many systems, but after a great war, they disappeared. Some said they were destroyed. Some said they ran away. Some said they simply died out. Over time, the galaxy stopped thinking about them. They became history, a forgotten species. But now, a dead human planet had just launched a fleet larger than anything seen in modern times. Back in the command chamber, the leaders began to argue. This could be an old defense system, one said. Left behind and now malfunctioning. No, another replied. Look at their formation. This is controlled by who? Silence again. Then one quiet voice spoke from the back of the room. Maybe, by humans. The room turned. That is impossible, the High Commander said firmly. There are no confirmed human fleets left. Then explain what we are seeing, the voice replied. No one could. Meanwhile, long-range sensors across the galaxy began tracking the movement of the Armada. The ships were not staying near Arabus 9. They were moving, all of them, together, in one direction. A navigation officer studied the data carefully. They are heading toward the inner systems, he said. Toward the core? Someone asked. Yes, that made the situation worse. The inner systems were not empty. They were filled with powerful empires, major trade routes, military strongholds. If the fleet continued on that path, it would not be ignored, it would be stopped. Send a scout fleet, the High Commander ordered. We need closer observation. Within minutes, a group of fast ships was launched. Their mission was simple. Follow the Armada, stay hidden, report everything, do not engage. The scout fleet moved quickly through space. After several jumps, they reached visual range, and what they saw made their blood run cold. The Armada was even bigger up close. The ships were not just large, they were massive. Each one carried heavy armor, powerful engines, and unknown weapon systems. Some ships were shaped like blades, others looked like moving fortresses, and there were so many of them that it was hard to count. Maintain distance, the scout leader said. Scanning, another replied. But the scan results made no sense. I'm not detecting any communication signals. What do you mean? The leader asked. They are not talking to each other, the scanner said. No radio, no data links, nothing. That's impossible, someone said. A fleet that size must communicate. But they aren't. And yet, they moved perfectly. Every ship held position, every turn was exact, every movement was precise. It was like they were all controlled by a single mind. Suddenly, one of the scout ships shook. Alert! We are being targeted! By what? The leader shouted. I don't know, no warning signal. Before anyone could react, one of the scout ships exploded, gone in a single flash of light. Retreat, the leader ordered immediately. The remaining ships turned to escape, but it was too late. A second shot came from the Armada. Fast, silent, invisible, until it hit. Another scout ship vanished. Then, another. They can see us. Someone whispered. But how? The leader asked. No answer came. The last remaining scout ship pushed its engines to maximum. It barely managed to jump out of the area. Back in the command chamber, the transmission came through, broken, shaking, full of fear. This is Scout Unit. We are under attack. They detected us instantly. No communication. No warning. This fleet is not normal. The signal cut. Silence filled the room again. One of the leaders spoke slowly. They destroyed trained scout ships, without effort. Another added. And without even speaking. The High Commander stood still, thinking. Then he gave a new order. Prepare a defensive line. Where? Someone asked. He looked at the map, at the path of the Armada at the systems ahead, then he pointed. Here. A major system. Stronghold. A place where no fleet had ever passed without permission. If they continue, he said, we stop them there. Across the galaxy, fleets began to move. Weapons were powered, shields activated, old alliances were called, because now everyone understood one thing. This was not a mistake. This was not an accident. This was not a broken system. This was a fleet. A massive, ancient, perfectly controlled fleet. And it was moving with purpose. Far away, the Armada continued its silent journey. No signals, no hesitation, no fear, just movement. Forward, as if it already knew. War was coming. The galaxy was no longer calm. Every major system was on alert. Fleets were moving. Weapons were ready. Eyes were watching the silent Armada as it crossed system after system without slowing down. But one question remained. What was it? Deep inside a forgotten archive station, far from the main trade routes, an old system came back online. It was not a military base. It was not a command center. It was a data vault. A place where ancient records were stored and then ignored. Dust covered its walls. Lights flickered as power returned after years of silence. At the center of the station, a single artificial intelligence unit activated. Its name was Archivist 9. Its purpose was simple: remember everything. Forget nothing. As the system fully powered up, a priority signal reached it, a signal marked with a very old code, a code it had not seen for centuries. The AI paused. Then it began processing. Input recognized, the AI said in a calm, emotionless voice. Searching historical records. Images of Arabus 9 appeared in its system. Old maps, human language, human symbols, human warnings. The AI processed faster, going deeper, looking into restricted files. Files that had been locked away after the Great War. Files marked, "Do not activate, override accepted," the AI said. The locks opened. The truth began to surface. Across the galaxy, leaders waited for answers, and slowly, they began to arrive. Inside the command chamber, a message came in from the archive station. "Historical data recovered," the report said. "Origin, human civilization." The room went silent. "Play it," the High Commander ordered. The screen changed. Old footage appeared, grainy, damaged, but still clear enough. A human figure stood in front of a recording device. The face looked tired. Eyes heavy. Voice steady but filled with something deeper. Not fear, not panic. Something else, determination. The human began to speak. "If this message is found, then we have already failed." The leaders watched closely. "The war cannot be won by force alone. We tried. We lost too much." Images flashed behind the speaker. Burning ships, destroyed planets, fleets falling apart. "Our enemies are stronger, faster, more advanced. We cannot defeat them now." The human paused, then leaned closer to the camera. "So we will not fight. Today." The room grew tense. "We will disappear. We will go silent. We will let them believe we are gone." More images appeared. Human ships shutting down, stations going dark, planets being abandoned. "But we will not surrender." The voice grew stronger. "We will build something they will never expect." The recording shifted. Blueprints appeared. Massive structures. Hidden systems. Deep underground facilities. "We will hide our fleets inside dead worlds. Planets no one will ever look at again." The commanders in the room exchanged uneasy looks. "We will power them down completely. No signals. No movement. No life." The footage showed massive ships being lowered into planets, covered, buried, forgotten. "And we will wait." The human looked directly into the camera. "Years, decades, centuries if we must." Silence filled the command chamber. "Until the time is right." The message ended suddenly. The screen went dark. No one spoke. Finally, one of the leaders broke the silence. "This is impossible." Another shook his head slowly. "No, this explains everything." "The fleet," someone whispered. "The Armada." "The sleeping Armada," the High Commander said quietly. The words felt heavy in the room. "They hid an entire fleet," another leader said. "Across multiple planets? Not just a fleet," the scientist added. "A system. A protocol," the report continued. Designation, Sleeping Armada Protocol. Purpose, long-term survival and counterattack. Status, unknown. A new question rose. "If this is the protocol," the High Commander said, "then what activated it?" Back at the archive station, Archivist 9 continued its search. Searching trigger conditions. Seconds passed. Then minutes. "Result found," the AI said. The data appeared. Simple, clear, terrifying. Trigger condition. If hostile control of the galaxy exceeds acceptable limits, if human presence drops below survival threshold, if all other options are lost. The final line appeared. Then initiate awakening. Back in the command chamber, no one moved. They waited, one leader said softly, for this moment. Another added, "They planned this, hundreds of years ago." "And now," the High Commander said, looking at the map of the advancing fleet, "they are executing it." The room felt colder. "Then this is not just a fleet," someone said. "This is a final move." "Yes," the commander replied. A final move. Against the entire galaxy. Far away, the Armada continued its silent journey. Still no signals. Still no communication. Still no hesitation, but now, the galaxy understood something new. This was not a random event. This was not a lost machine waking up. This was a plan, a human plan, built in defeat, hidden in silence, and now, carried out with perfect precision. The sleeping Armada was not just awake. It was following orders. Orders given long ago, by a species the galaxy thought was gone. And if the plan had reached this stage, then something else was also true. Humanity had not just prepared to survive. They had prepared to return. The Armada did not slow down. It did not change direction. It did not respond to any message sent across open space. It simply moved forward, System after system, it passed through the outer regions and entered controlled territory. Now the galaxy could no longer watch from a distance. Now it had to act. At the edge of a major star system known as Velcar Prime, a defensive line was forming. This was not a small force. This was one of the strongest military positions in the galaxy. Hundreds of warships gathered in orbit around the system's main star. Massive defense platforms locked into position. Energy shields spread across key locations. Weapon arrays powered up, glowing brighter with every second. Command ships floated at the center of the formation, directing everything with perfect coordination. If any fleet tried to pass through here, it would be stopped. Inside the central command ship, officers moved quickly. Final defense grid is active. All weapons online. Long-range sensors locked. The High Admiral stood at the front of the room watching the tactical display. A large cluster of signals approached from deep space. Too many to count individually. "They're close," one officer said. "Distance?" the Admiral asked. 5 minutes. The room fell quiet. For the first time, the galaxy would face the Armada directly. No more guessing. No more watching from afar. Now they would see what it could really do. "Open communication channel," the Admiral ordered. A signal was sent. Strong. Clear. Direct. The message echoed across space. "Unknown fleet approaching Velcar Prime. This is a restricted system. Identify yourselves immediately. Failure to respond will result in destruction." The message reached the Armada. Every ship received it. Every system processed it. But nothing changed. "They are not slowing down," an officer said. "No response detected," another added. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Send it again." The message repeated. Louder, stronger, still. No response. The Armada continued forward. Perfect formation. Perfect silence. "They are ignoring us," one officer said. "No," the Admiral replied quietly. "They are choosing not to answer." The distance closed. 4 minutes. 3 minutes. "Prepare weapons," the Admiral ordered. Across the defensive line, energy surged into massive cannons. Missile systems locked targets. Shield generators pushed to maximum output. 2 minutes. "Final warning," the Admiral said. The message was sent again. "You are entering a controlled military zone. Turn back immediately or we will open fire." No response. 1 minute. The room was tense. Every officer watched the screen. The Armada was now clearly visible. Thousands of ships, dark shapes against the stars, moving together like one entity. "Admiral," one officer said slowly, "their formation, it hasn't changed at all." The Admiral nodded. "They are not preparing for defense." Another officer spoke, confused. "They are not preparing for anything." The realization hit slowly. "They already know what will happen," the Admiral said. "Fire," the command was given, and the galaxy answered with violence. A storm of energy exploded from the defensive line. Massive beams of light cut across space. Missiles launched in waves. Explosions filled the darkness as the attack rushed toward the Armada. For a moment, it looked unstoppable. Then, at the first impact, the front line of human ships was hit directly. Blinding flashes of light, shockwaves, fire. But when the light faded, the ships were still there. Minimal damage. "What?" an officer whispered. "Shields holding," another said in disbelief. "Impossible," someone added. "That level of firepower should have destroyed them." The Armada did not stop. It did not break formation. It did not return fire. It just kept moving forward. "Second wave," the Admiral ordered. More weapons fired, stronger, focused, targeted. Again, the human ships were hit. Again, explosions filled space. And again, they survived. "Admiral, their defenses are adapting," a systems officer said. "Adapting?" the Admiral asked. "Yes. Every shot we fire becomes less effective." Silence. Then something changed. "They are charging weapons," one officer shouted. For the first time, the Armada reacted. Across thousands of ships, energy began to build. Not chaotic, not random, perfectly synchronized. Lines of light appeared along their hulls. Weapon systems activated. Power levels rose rapidly. "Brace for impact," the Admiral yelled. Then they fired. No warning, no signal, no delay. A single wave of energy shot forward from the Armada. It moved faster than anything the defenders had seen. Clean, precise, silent. It hit the defensive line, and everything changed. Ships exploded instantly. Shields collapsed like they were never there. Defense platforms shattered. Entire sections of the fleet vanished in seconds. The command room shook violently. Alarms screamed. Lights flickered. "Damage reports," the admiral shouted. "We're losing ships. Shields failing. Systems offline." The defensive line was breaking. "That was one attack," an officer said, his voice shaking. The admiral stared at the screen, at the approaching fleet, at the destruction left behind. "They didn't even use full power," he said quietly. Another wave of energy began to build across the Armada. "Retreat," the admiral said. No one argued. "Full retreat. Fall back to inner defenses." The remaining ships turned and fled. Behind them, the Armada continued forward, untouched, unstoppable. The battlefield fell silent again. But it was not the same silence as before. This silence was heavy, filled with loss, filled with fear. The strongest defense in that region had been destroyed in minutes. Across the galaxy, the message spread. The Armada has engaged. It cannot be stopped. Far ahead, the fleet moved deeper toward the core systems. Still silent, still perfect, still unstoppable. And now everyone understood the truth. This was not just a hidden fleet. This was something far worse. A force designed for one purpose only. Not to defend, not to warn, but to end wars by winning them completely. Deep in the silence of space, where even light seemed to hesitate, the alien Armada drifted above the dead world. They no longer called it dead out loud. Not after what they saw below. Commander Vel stood in the command deck of the lead ship, staring at the planet through the viewport. The surface was quiet again. The awakened humans had retreated back into the underground facility. The red warning lights had dimmed, but the feeling of danger had not gone away. It was worse now, because something had changed. Not on the planet, but everywhere. A faint pulse appeared on the ship's long-range sensors, then another, then dozens. Terrell, the young scientist, leaned over the console. "Commander, we are receiving a signal." Vel frowned. "From the planet?" Terrell shook his head slowly. "No, not from the planet. It is coming from multiple directions." The screen flickered. A wave pattern spread across the galaxy map like ripples in water. It was not random. It was structured, designed, intentional. The Armada fell silent as the signal grew stronger. It passed through space like an invisible storm, touching old relay points, forgotten stations, and dormant systems that had not been active for centuries. And then the truth began to reveal itself. This was not a message. It was a beacon. A trigger. Commander Vel stepped closer. "Trace the origin." Terrell's fingers moved fast across the console. "I can't isolate it. It is everywhere. It is embedded in ancient infrastructure, hidden inside old communication layers, even in abandoned deep space buoys." His voice lowered. "It was always there. We just never activated it." The signal expanded again, and suddenly across the galaxy, things that had been silent for thousands of years began to wake up. Old human stations drifting in asteroid belts powered on one by one. Their lights flickered like tired eyes opening after a long sleep. Massive relay towers buried inside gas giants began transmitting again. Lost colonies, long thought destroyed, sent weak but steady power readings, and deep inside forgotten systems. Weapons came online, not modern weapons. Ancient ones, built in desperation, built for survival. On the bridge, alarms screamed. "Unknown activation detected in Sector 9. Energy spikes in dead zones!" Entire dormant networks are online. Terrell stepped back, fear in his voice. "This is not a simple broadcast. It is a command sequence. Something is waking everything connected to human legacy systems." Commander Vel's face tightened. Who would build something like this? Before anyone could answer, the signal changed. It stabilized, and a message appeared on every screen in the Armada, not in alien language, not translated. It was human code, old, fragmented, but still alive. Terrell decoded it slowly, his voice shaking as he read, "If you hear this, humanity is not gone." The words hung in the air like a shockwave. No one spoke. Even the ship engines seemed quieter. The message continued. It was not long, but it carried weight that pressed against the mind. This is a distributed survival system. If activation has occurred, it means contact has been made with non-human intelligence. Commander Vel's eyes narrowed. They planned for this. Terrell nodded slowly. They didn't just survive extinction. They prepared for return. The signal surged again, and this time something answered. Far across the galaxy, deep in uncharted space, a human colony ship, lost for over 5,000 years, lit up its engines. Its AI systems, buried under layers of decay, restarted. One by one, cryopods opened. Sleeping humans woke up, confused, disoriented, but alive. And they looked at the stars outside their ship and saw the beacon, the call, the return signal. More ships responded. Hidden fleets inside asteroid fields activated shielding systems. Underground human bunkers on barren moons opened their doors for the first time in millennia. Entire defense networks came online across forgotten star systems. Not random, coordinated, as if something had been waiting for this exact moment. Commander Vel stepped away from the console, his mind racing. They were never gone. Terrell whispered. They scattered themselves. On purpose. The realization spread slowly through the bridge. Humanity had not been destroyed. It had been dispersed, hidden, protected, sleeping across the galaxy like embers under ash. And now the wind had returned. The signal grew brighter. Across the galaxy, every awakened human system began broadcasting the same message. Not fear, not warning, but recognition. We are still here. On the dead planet below, deep inside the underground facility, the awakened humans stood together in silence. They were listening too, their systems linked to the same beacon. One of them spoke softly. It has begun. Another replied, the network is fully active. A third added, all dormant nodes are responding. They were not confused. They were not surprised. They were waiting for this. Because this was never extinction. It was preparation. And now, after centuries of silence, humanity was stretching its arms again across the stars. Back on the alien ship, alarms stopped screaming. The system stabilized. The signal was no longer chaotic. It was structured into a single repeating pulse. A heartbeat. Commander Vel looked at the screen one last time. The message had changed again. Just one final line appeared. Humanity is returning. And far beyond the edge of known space, something massive began to move for the first time in ages. Not one ship, not one fleet, but an entire forgotten civilization, waking up at once. The galaxy had never been truly silent. It only looked that way. For thousands of years, space civilizations believed Earth species had been wiped out. The humans, once loud, chaotic, and expanding, had suddenly disappeared from charts, trade routes, and war records. No signals, no colonies, no ships, nothing, just emptiness. Or so they thought. But deep inside hidden regions of space, far beyond known borders, something massive had been waiting. And now, it was moving. The alien Armada still hovered near the dead planet, but everything had changed. The signals were no longer mysterious pulses. They were coordinated, controlled, like a system waking up after a long sleep and remembering exactly who it was. Commander Vel stood frozen on the bridge of his ship. His hands were clenched behind his back. His eyes stayed fixed on the galaxy map. What are they doing? One officer asked quietly. Terrell answered, his voice low. They are not reacting anymore. He paused. They are assembling. Across the galaxy, hidden systems that had just activated were now linking together. The scattered human stations, lost colony ships, dormant war platforms, and sealed underground fleets were all responding to the same command structure. Not chaos, not random awakening, but coordination. A design that had been built long ago. Commander Vel finally spoke. We made a mistake. No one answered, because now they all understood. Humanity was not extinct. It had gone silent on purpose. The dead world they had landed on was not a grave. It was a control hub, a trigger point, a key, and they had turned it. The galaxy map lit up suddenly with thousands of new contacts. Ships that had been invisible before were now appearing as signals returned to full power. Entire fleets emerged from inside asteroid fields, nebula shadows, and dark space corridors. They were not new ships. They were old, ancient, but perfectly maintained, waiting, always waiting. Terrell whispered, "They didn't just survive extinction. They designed extinction." Commander Vel turned sharply. "Explain." Terrell's fingers moved across the console, pulling fragmented data from the signal streams. They removed themselves from the visible galaxy, broke their networks, spread their colonies so far apart that no single attack could wipe them out. Then they went silent. He looked up slowly, and they built something underneath it all. A hidden system that only activates when a certain condition is met. The ship shook slightly as another wave of energy passed through space. "The condition has been met," Terrell said. Far away, at the center of the galaxy, space itself began to distort. Not from gravity, not from collapse, but from movement. Something enormous was arriving. One by one, human fleets began to converge. From the dark edges of known space, from abandoned star systems, from deep gravitational wells where no light reached, ships began to appear. At first they were small groups, then entire formations, then armadas, each one linking into the growing network like pieces of a broken puzzle finally snapping together. "Commander," Vel watched in silence as the map filled with light. It was overwhelming, not just numbers, but scale, thousands of ships, tens of thousands more than any recorded civilization should ever be able to maintain in secrecy. And yet, there they were, alive, ready. The human signal expanded again, and this time it carried something different. Broadcast direct, unfiltered, every ship in the galaxy, every known civilization received. The alien armada included. The voice was calm, but heavy. "It has been a long silence." The message paused, then continued. "You thought we were gone. On the alien bridge, no one moved. Even breathing felt slow. We were not destroyed." Another pause. "We were not defeated." The signal sharpened. "We were only sleeping." The galaxy fell into a strange stillness. Even distant systems seemed to pause their activity. Every civilization, listening, understood something very clearly. This was not a warning. This was a declaration. Commander Vel stepped forward slowly. "They are announcing themselves." Terrell nodded. "No, they are revealing the truth of what they already are." The human message continued. "All systems are now synchronized. All dormant fleets are active. All colonies have reconnected." A final pause, and then the words that changed everything. "Humanity is whole again." At that moment, space around the galactic center began to glow, not with stars but with ships. Thousands upon thousands of human vessels were forming a massive structure in orbit around the core region. It was not random formation. It was deliberate, a wall, sphere, a perfect ring of light surrounding the heart of the galaxy. Each ship aligned with precision, creating something that looked less like a fleet and more like a boundary, a line being drawn. Commander Vel's voice was quiet. "They are positioning themselves," Terrell finished the thought, "for war." No one needed to ask who the enemy was. The human transmission ended with one final sentence. "Cold, clear, absolute. Do not mistake our silence for weakness." And then the galaxy lit up. Every human fleet ignited its engines at once. A wave of light spread across space, forming a living barrier around the galactic center. Ships locked into formation, weapon systems charged. Ancient engines roared back to life after centuries of silence. The Armada was no longer hidden. It was revealed, and it was ready. Commander Vel looked at the wall of ships forming in the distance. His reflection trembled in the glass. "This is not contact," he whispered. Terrell replied softly, "No, this is return." The human wall expanded further, glowing brighter with each second. A galaxy-wide silence fell, and in that silence, one truth became impossible to ignore. The war had not started yet, but it was no longer avoidable. Humanity had returned,